Take it. Walk away from my son and save yourself the embarrassment.
The envelope landed in front of Ujunwa like an insult dressed in expensive paper. Nobody at that long dining table laughed. That made it worse. Ujunwa looked at the envelope, then at the engagement ring on her finger, then finally at Seyi. The man who had promised to stand beside her was sitting there, silent. Ronka leaned back in her ruby-red gown. You came into this family with nothing. No property, no connections, no name that opens doors. Love cannot feed foolishness forever. Ujunwa slowly removed her ring. But before she could speak, headlights swept across the mansion windows. One SUV entered the compound. Then another. Security men in dark suits stepped out first. And when the rear door opened, Ronke's husband suddenly stood up. His face changed. Obiora Nwasu? Ronke froze. Ujunwa did not. Stay with this story, because what happened next was not about money. It was about dignity. And before we continue, tell us where you're watching from and your local time right now. Subscribe if you believe respect should never depend on somebody's bank account, because the man walking toward that door, was Ujunwa's father. 6 weeks earlier, Ujunwa Nwosu was fighting with a zipper. Not metaphorically. A real zipper. A stubborn silver one on a bridesmaid dress that had arrived at her shop less than 24 hours before the wedding it was meant for. The dress lay across her cutting table like an injured bird. Pale lilac satin. Beading around the waist. One side seam strained from a bad alteration done somewhere else, and the zipper teeth had started separating halfway up the back. The bride's younger sister had almost cried when she dropped it off. Auntie, please, if this thing spoils tomorrow, my sister will kill me before church. Ujunwa had looked at the dress, looked at the time, then looked at the girl. Your sister will not kill you. But whoever put this zipper here wanted to test my salvation. The girl had laughed through her panic. Now, at nearly 7 in the evening, Ujunwa was bent over the machine, with one foot pressing the pedal and the other tapping impatiently against the tiled floor. Her shop sat on a busy Surulere street between a pharmacy and a tiny phone accessories store whose owner played old Afrobeats too loudly whenever Nipa took light. The sign above her own door read NWSU Altations and Fiti. No gold lettering, no dramatic slogan. Just her name, a phone number, and a smaller line underneath. Repairs. Bridal adjustments. Everyday tailoring. Inside were 2 industrial machines. One domestic machine she had owned since university. A standing fan with a cracked grill. Rolls of lining fabric. A rack of finished clothes waiting for collection. And a receipt book held together with clear tape. It was not glamorous, it paid her rent, most months. The generator coughed outside. Ujunwa stopped sewing. Don't try me today, she muttered. The generator coughed again, then steadied. From the doorway came a voice. So now you are threatening machines? She did not turn around. If a machine behaves like a human being, I will address it like one. Seyi Adeyemi stepped into the shop, carrying 2 takeaway packs and a bottle of malt. He had loosened his tie and rolled his white shirt sleeves up to the elbows. His work trousers still held the sharp crease of a man who spent more time at construction meetings than on actual building sites. He placed the food on the narrow table by the wall. I brought jollof. From where? That place you like. Ujunwa looked up at last. Which place? Seyi smiled. The one where you said the woman cooks like she is angry with rice. Now Ujunwa smiled too. That is not enough information. He lifted the bag. Plantain also. Okay, you can stay. He laughed and leaned down to kiss her temple. Ujunwa smelled traffic dust, aftershave, and the faint cement smell that followed Seyi home from site inspections, no matter how expensive his soap was. That smell was one reason she had trusted him in the beginning. Seyi came from money, yes, real money. Old enough to have lawyers, property, and people who spoke of family interests, as if the family were a country. But he did not float through life in loafers giving instructions. He had studied civil engineering, worked ridiculous hours, and could talk for 20 minutes about drainage without noticing everybody else had become tired. The first time he came to Ujunwa's shop, 3 years earlier, he had needed the sleeves of a senator outfit, shortened for his cousin's traditional wedding. She had told him to come back the next day. He had asked if he could pay extra for same-day work. She had said, "You can pay extra and still come tomorrow." He came tomorrow. Then 2 weeks later with another shirt. Then with no shirt at all, just a bottle of Zobo and a terrible excuse about passing through the area. That was how it started. Not with champagne, not with a family introduction, with sleeves that were too long. Seyi opened the food packs while Ujunwa finished the last line of stitching. "You have not eaten since afternoon, have you?" he asked. "I had groundnuts. That is not food. It entered my stomach. It qualifies." He shook his head. "You will stress me into hypertension before marriage." The word marriage still did something small to her chest. Not fireworks, something quieter. A warm shift. The ring on her finger was not huge. Ujunwa had insisted on that. She had seen the first ring Seyi wanted to buy, and told him she was not wearing something that could pay 6 months of shop rent on one finger. He had stared at her. "You know you are difficult?" "Yes." "And you are proud?" "Very." So he had bought a simpler ring. He sat now on a plastic chair that protested under his weight and watched her inspect the zipper. "Done?" "Almost." "You said that 20 minutes ago." "Construction man, please don't supervise my site." He raised both hands. "Sorry, Madam Contractor." She cut the thread, checked the seam, zipped the dress twice, and finally exhaled. "Done." Seyi clapped once. "Excellent. Can we eat before you adopt another emergency dress?" They sat across from each other with the food between them. For 10 peaceful minutes, they ate and argued about whether the jollof had too much pepper. Then Seyi cleared his throat. Ujunwa stopped chewing. She knew that sound. "What?" "Nothing. You only clear your throat like that when something is wrong." "Nothing is wrong." She stared at him. Seyi sighed. "My mother wants us to come for dinner on Sunday." Ujunwa resumed chewing. "She has wanted us to come for dinner before. This one is more formal." "Formal how?" She said, "Close family. My dad, maybe Auntie Moji, 1 or 2 others." Ujunwa swallowed. "Small dinner or inspection?" Seyi smiled because he thought it was safer. Ujunwa did not. His smile faded. "She wants to get to know you properly. Your mother has known me for almost 2 years. You know what I mean." "I know exactly what you mean." Seyi leaned forward. "Uju." Only Seyi called her that. She usually liked it. Tonight it sounded like a hand placed gently over an argument. "My mother is traditional about some things," he said. "Traditional is one word. Please. I have never insulted her. I know. I have never entered your family house and behaved badly. I know that too. So, Why do you sound like I am the problem you are trying to manage? Seyi rubbed one hand over his jaw. I don't. I just want Sunday to go well. So do I. Then maybe just. Don't go in expecting a fight. Ujunwa looked at him for a long moment. Do you think I walk around carrying fights in my handbag? That is not what I said. No. It is just what you are afraid of. He sat back. The generator outside coughed again. Somewhere next door, the phone accessories man switched songs and shouted at somebody about a charger. Seyi looked down at his food. I love you, he said. Ujunwa's face softened, but only a little. I know. That should count for something. It counts for plenty. She reached across and took his wrist. But love cannot be the excuse for me swallowing everything your family decides to put in my mouth. He looked at her hand over his, then nodded. Fair. She squeezed once and let go. Neither of them knew yet how expensive that word would become. On Sunday afternoon, Ujunwa stood in front of a full-length mirror in her aunt's sitting room and changed her earrings 3 times. Auntie Uzo watched from the sofa. You are doing job interview? No. Then why are you checking your ears like they committed offense? Ujunwa removed the 3rd pair and put back the 1st. I am not nervous. Good. I am not. Wonderful. You are annoying. That one I know. Uzo Nwosu was 50, though she claimed anybody who asked directly lacked home training. She had taught basic science for years before leaving the school system and starting a small food business with 2 women from her church. She sold stews, soups, rice trays, and office lunch packs. Nothing about her life looked impressive on paper, but Ujunwa had learned more about steadiness from Uzo than from anybody else she knew. The small 2-bedroom flat smelled of fried onions and fabric softener. A ceiling fan turned slowly above them. On the television, a Nollywood actor was shouting at a woman about inheritance, while the volume sat low enough that neither of them could hear why. Uzo inspected Ujunwa's dress. Fine. Ujunwa wore a simple knee-length dress in pale blue. Clean lines. No heavy stones, no dramatic sleeves. Her hair was pulled into neat twists behind her head. Fine means what? Ujunwa asked. It means fine. Must I compose poetry? Ujunwa picked up her bag. Uzo's eyes moved to the ring. He treats you well? Yes. His people, Ujunwa paused. His father is okay. His mother is. Careful. Careful with you. Careful around me. Same thing sometimes. Ujunwa sighed. She thinks I want their money. Uzo gave a small sound through her nose. Rich people are always afraid. Somebody wants what they have. Poor people are afraid. Tomorrow will come before money does. Everybody has their own fear. That is supposed to help me. No, I am just talking. Ujunwa laughed despite herself. Her phone buzzed inside her bag. She ignored it. It buzzed again. Uzo's eyes went to the bag. Who? Nobody. Your nobody calls twice. Ujunwa removed the phone. The screen showed one word, Dad. Her thumb hovered above decline. The call stopped before she touched anything. Uzo said nothing for a moment. Then, how long will you punish that man? Ujunwa slid the phone back into her bag. I am not punishing him. I am not. Uzo folded her arms. So, what are you doing? Ujunwa looked toward the window. Outside, a boy wheeled past with bread stacked in a clear box. A woman across the street was bargaining loudly over tomatoes. I am learning how to live where his money cannot answer for me. Uzo's face changed just slightly. You know money is not the only thing a father can give. He forgot. He is trying to remember. Ujunwa turned. And I am trying to breathe. That ended it. Uzo knew when a door had closed. She stood, adjusted the shoulder of Ujunwa's dress, then kissed her forehead. Go, eat their food, sit straight, don't insult anybody. I don't insult people. Uzo gave her a look. Your mouth has its own legal counsel. Ujunwa laughed and left. The Adeyemi family home in Ikoyi was the kind of house that made silence feel expensive. High walls, security at the gate, a driveway wide enough for 3 cars to pass without greeting each other, palm trees trimmed into obedience. Ujunwa had been there twice before, but never for a dinner arranged around her. Seyi met her at the front entrance. You look beautiful. Thank you. He kissed her cheek. You okay? Ask me after food. Uju, I am joking. Are you? She looked at him. Try not to ask me to be smaller tonight. The words hit him. He frowned. I have never asked that. She held his eyes. Good. Then she walked inside. Ronke Adeyemi was waiting in the formal sitting room. She wore a green kaftan with gold embroidery and a matching scarf wrapped with the kind of precision that suggested somebody else had suffered to make it perfect. She rose with a smile. Ujunwa. Welcome. Thank you, Ma. No, soon you will stop that mama business. Ronke hugged her lightly. It was not a cold hug. That was what made Ronke difficult. She knew how to make discomfort look like hospitality. Niyi Adeyemi entered from another room, glasses in one hand. Our bride. Ujunwa smiled. Good evening, sir. Come and sit. Seyi says you are still working like somebody chasing landlord. He exaggerated. I am only chasing electricity bill. Niyi laughed loudly. There, I like this girl. Ronke smiled too, but her eyes remained on Ujunwa. Dinner began pleasantly. That was the first trap. The second arrived with pepper soup. Ronke rested her spoon against the bowl. So, Ujunwa, Seyi tells me business is moving. It is trying. Trying? I have regular customers now. Bridal work is improving. Alterations are steady. And you have employees? 1 full-time apprentice. Another girl comes 3 days a week. How much does a business like that make? Seyi looked up. Mum. Ronke turned to him. What? She is joining this family. Money is not a dirty subject. Ujunwa placed her spoon down. Some months are better than others. Yes, but roughly? Enough to keep the shop open and pay myself. Ronke nodded as if Ujunwa had submitted a figure anyway. Do you own the shop space? No, I rent. Any property? No land? No investments? Ujunwa smiled, small futureful, nothing dramatic. Debt? Seyi. Ni's voice carried a warning now. Your mother is conducting bank interview. Ronke laughed. Please. I am only asking what every sensible family should ask before marriage. She turned back to Ujunwa. You understand, don't you? Ujunwa looked around the table. Yes, Ronke relaxed. Then Ujunwa added, I also understand why it feels different when only one person is answering. A small quiet dropped over the table. Niyi hid a smile behind his glass. Seyi closed his eyes briefly. Ronke's smile thinned. Fair enough. You may ask Seyi anything. Ujunwa turned to him immediately. How much do you owe? Seyi blinked. What? You heard me. Ni laughed so hard this time he coughed. Seyi stared at Ujunwa, then started laughing too. Okay, fine. I have a car loan. Company car, Ronke corrected. Exactly, Ujunwa said. So is it his debt or the company's? Seyi shook his head. You see what I deal with. For a few minutes, the tension loosened. But Ronke did not forget. After dinner, while Seyi and Niyi stepped onto the terrace to discuss a site issue, Ronke asked Ujunwa to stay behind. I hope I did not offend you. No. You must understand something about families like ours. Ujunwa waited. Marriage is love, yes. But marriage is also exposure. Exposure to what? Expectations. Obligations. People, money, reputation. You marry one person, but consequences do not stop with one person. That is true in every family. Ronka looked at her for a moment. Not to the same scale. There it was. Not shouted. Not ugly enough to point at. Just placed between them. Ujunwa nodded. I understand. I want you to succeed here. Here? In this family. Ronka smiled and touched her wrist lightly. There are things you will need to learn. How we host. How we dress for certain events. How to handle attention. How to speak to clients and senior people. It is not criticism. Everybody adjusts. Ujunwa's face remained polite. Ron continued. I know a woman who does excellent image consulting. She can work with you before the wedding events. I will handle the cost. Ujunwa looked down at Ronki's hand on her wrist, then back at her face. That is kind of you. Ronki's smile widened. But no, thank you. The smile stopped widening. I beg your pardon? I said thank you, but I am okay. It is not an insult, Ujunwa. I did not take it as one. You have not even heard what she offers. I heard enough. Ronka withdrew her hand. You are very sure of yourself. Not always. You sound sure now. Ujunwa gave a small smile. Now, yes. When Seyi drove her home later, he lasted 6 minutes before speaking. What happened with my mum after dinner? She offered to improve me. He glanced at her. What does that mean? Image consultant. Seyi exhaled. Oh? Oh? She did that with my cousin's wife, too. Was your cousin's wife interested? I don't know. I wasn't. That is fine. It did not look fine to her. Seyi gripped the steering wheel. She means well. Ujunwa looked out the window. Traffic moved slowly past them. Hawkers threaded between cars with bottled water and phone cables. A bus conductor shouted a destination into the evening noise. After a while, she said, Help that cannot hear no is control. Seyi looked at her again. She did not force you. Not yet. He gave a tired laugh. You always assume the worst with her. No. I listen to what she says, and I am telling you she is trying. To do what? To accept this. Ujunwa turned from the window. This, Seyi realized too late. You know what I mean, do I? Uju, please. She looked at him for 3 seconds, then back at the road. The rest of the drive was quiet. That night, Seyi sent her a message at 12:18 a.m. I am sorry. Wrong words. Ujunwa read it twice, then typed. I know. She did not add a heart. The next morning, before opening her shop, she found 3 missed calls from her father. She deleted the notifications, but not the number. Over the next 2 weeks, Ronka never raised her voice at Ujunwa. She did something more effective. She kept helping. A bridal stylist sent Ujunwa a message saying Mrs. Adeyemi had asked her to arrange a fitting. Ujunwa declined. A driver arrived at her shop one afternoon, carrying 3 garment bags from a designer on Victoria Island. Madam said you should select one for the charity dinner. Ujunwa looked at the bags, then at the driver. Which madam? Mrs. Adeyemi. Please take them back. The driver shifted uncomfortably. Madam said, I know. Tell her thank you. She may not be happy. Ujunwa bent over the hem she was pinning. My brother, that one is between her and happiness. The apprentice at the next machine snorted and covered it with a cough. The driver tried not to smile. He carried the bags away. That evening, Seyi called. You sent the clothes back? Yes. Why? Because I did not ask for them. She was trying to make things easier. For who, Ujunwa? For who, Seyi? Silence. She threaded a needle while holding the phone between shoulder and ear. Your mother has decided I am a project, she said. Every week there is something to correct. She likes things done a certain way. So do I. That is the problem. Both of you are stubborn. Ujunwa stopped threading. No. Do not make this equal, because equality sounds peaceful. What does that mean? I am not sending your mother clothes. I am not choosing her haircut. I am not telling her to close her work. I am not trying to remake her. Seyi rubbed his forehead on the other end. She could hear it in his breathing. She asked about the shop. She said after marriage I may not need to keep stressing myself with it. And what did you say? That I like my work. What did she say? That I can always sew for pleasure. Seyi went quiet. This time, Ujunwa did not rescue him from the silence. He finally said, I will talk to her. Please don't go and say I complained. I won't. Talk about the behavior, not me. I understand. You always say that. Because I do know. Sometimes you understand the words. I am waiting for you to understand the cost. He did not answer. The following Sunday, Seyi came to the shop in jeans and a faded polo shirt. He spent 40 minutes holding fabric for Ujunwa while she cut out a blouse pattern for a customer. He did not mention his mother. Neither did she. It almost felt normal. Then his phone rang. He looked at the screen and stepped outside. Ujunwa watched him through the glass door. He listened more than he spoke. At one point, his shoulders stiffened. When he returned, he tucked the phone into his pocket. Work? Ujunwa asked. He hesitated. My dad. Problem? No. She waited. Seyi picked up the fabric again. My mother spoke to him. About? Ujunwa put down her scissors. What did she say? That we are moving too fast. You proposed after 3 years. I know. That is speed? She thinks I am not thinking about long-term implications. There was that word again. Implications. Exposure. Adjustment. Everything in Ronke's language could wear a suit. What implications? Ujunwa asked. Seyi leaned against the cutting table. My position in the company. Family assets. Responsibilities. Your job? Not exactly. Then exactly what? He looked toward the street. My dad is considering putting me in charge of the Lekki project. Ujunwa knew the project. Seyi had been talking about it for nearly a year. A large mixed-use development, difficult enough to matter, visible enough to change his career. You want it, she said. Of course I want it. And your mother is connecting that to me. She didn't say that directly. Ujunwa's mouth tightened. Of course she didn't. Seyi reached for her hand. Listen, my dad makes the final decision on work, not her. Does he disagree with her? He hasn't said. That is not what I asked. Seyi released a breath. No, not clearly. Ujunwa nodded. There it was. Not a threat. Not yet. Just a door held half closed. She picked up her scissors again. Seyi watched her. You are not going to say anything. What do you want me to say? I don't know. Then let me work. Uju. She looked at him. I did not ask you to choose between me and your family. I know. But if they choose to make me the price of your adulthood, that decision is theirs. What you do after is yours. Seyi's face hardened, not at her exactly, but at the shape of the problem. You make everything sound simple. No, I make it sound like a decision. He left 20 minutes later. He kissed her goodbye. She kissed him back. But that night, Ujunwa lay awake in her small bedroom and stared at the ceiling until nearly 2. The fan had stopped when the power went out. Her room was hot. A mosquito whined near her ear. She slapped it, missed, then laughed once in the dark, because there was something ridiculous about trying to solve marriage, money, family pressure and mosquitoes at the same time. Her phone lay face down beside her. She turned it over. No message from Seyi. One missed call from Dad. She locked the screen again. On Monday morning, Ronka came to the shop. No driver carrying bags this time, no advance notice. She entered at 11:30, while Ujunwa was measuring an older woman for a church outfit. Ujunwa looked up and nearly pricked her finger. "Good morning, Ma." "Morning, my dear." Ronka smiled at the customer, then sat quietly on one of the plastic chairs. To her credit, she waited. Ujunwa finished measuring, wrote the figures down, collected a deposit and walked the customer out. Then she turned. "You should have told me you were coming. I was nearby." Ujunwa doubted it. Women like Ronka were rarely nearby surulaire by accident at 11:30 on a Monday. Still, she offered water. Ronka declined. Her eyes moved around the shop. Not rudely. That was almost worse. She noticed the cracked fan grill, the faded stool, the old domestic machine, the handwritten payment reminder taped above Ujunwa's desk. "Your rent is due?" Ronke asked. Ujunwa followed her gaze. "Next month." "How much?" Ujunwa smiled without humor. "We have entered interview again?" Ronke gave a small laugh. "You are suspicious of kindness, sometimes. Why?" "Because kindness that comes with measurements can become tailoring." Ronke's eyebrows lifted. "That is a line. I work with fabric." Ronke looked at her for a moment, then nodded toward the machines. "You are talented." "Thank you. I mean it." "I know. You could do very well with better capital." Ujunwa's shoulders tightened. "I am doing all right. I did not say you were failing. No. You said I could be better if I had more money. That is true for most businesses." "Also true." Ronke folded her handbag neatly on her lap. "What would it take to expand?" Ujunwa did not answer. A bigger continued. "More machines. Staff. Proper branding. Perhaps a small showroom. You are engaged to my son. If this work matters to you, I do not see why you should remain at this level." Ujunwa leaned against her cutting table. "Because this level is what I can currently afford. That can change. Yes, I can help." "There it is." Ronke's mouth tightened. "Why are you determined to make every offer an insult?" "I don't." "You do." "No, I ask whether I still own my answer after you offer." Ronke stood. "I am trying to welcome you, then welcome me." "I am." "No, Ma. You are renovating me." For the first time since they met, Ronke looked openly angry. Not furious, just tired of a person who would not cooperate with the version of generosity she understood. "You think independence means refusing everybody?" "No." "You think accepting help makes you weak?" "No." "Then what exactly is your problem?" Ujunwa answered quietly. "I need to know that if I say no, you will still respect me tomorrow." That stopped Ronke for half a second. Then her expression cooled. "Respect is earned." Ujunwa nodded. "Yes." Ronke picked up her bag. "I hope you remember that." "I do." Ronke left. The apprentice who had been pretending to sort thread at the back waited until the door closed. Then she whispered, "Auntie." Ujunwa closed her eyes. "Don't." "I did not say anything. Your face has said plenty." The girl pressed her lips together. Ujunwa returned to work. Her hands stayed steady. That annoyed her. She almost wanted them to shake, so she could blame the feeling on anger. Instead, she sewed 3 straight seams and thought about the word respect. Ronke was right about one thing. it was earned. What Ronke had not understood was that money could not issue the receipt. Across town, Seyi was learning his own lesson about money. The Ademi Company offices occupied 4 floors of a glass building in Victoria Island. Seyi had worked there since he was 24, not because nobody else would hire him. He had spent 2 years with another firm first, partly because his father insisted he learn under people who would not care about his surname. When Seyi returned to the family company, he came in as a project engineer, not a director. He had worked properly. That mattered to him. Which was why he hated what happened when he sat across from his father that Tuesday morning. Ni removed his glasses and set them on a file. The Lekki project will go to either you or Enga, Salami, Seyi nodded. Fine. Your technical work is stronger. Then give it to me. Ni smiled slightly. Life is not only technical work. Seyi sat back. There it is. There what is? Mum. Ni's smile disappeared. This meeting is about work. Then let it be about work. It is. Are you considering my engagement when deciding the project lead? Ni was quiet. That answer was enough. Seyi leaned forward. Dad. Listen to me before you start making speeches. I am listening. You are not a boy. You know how business works. Clients do not separate people from judgment. Senior leadership is not only calculations and site meetings. It is judgment, stability, reputation. My fiancé's bank balance is now a reputation issue? I did not say that. Then say what you mean. Ni frowned. You are becoming defensive, and you are becoming vague. The older man leaned back. Your mother is worried you are rushing into a marriage without understanding the demands around it. 3 years is rushing. The time is not the point. What is? Whether you are thinking beyond emotion. Seyi laughed once. It had no humor in it. You people say emotion as if love is a fever. Love is not a business plan. I am not marrying a business plan. No. You are marrying a person who will become part of your life, your obligations, your decisions. She already is. Ni's jaw tightened. I know, she stood. Then decide the project on my work. If I am not good enough, give it to Salami. Seyi. If I am good enough, but you don't give it to me, because Mum does not like who I am marrying. Say that too. At least then I will know the price. Ni stared at him. For a second, Seyi looked very much like the 15-year-old boy who had once broken a window and refused to blame the football on anybody else. Then Ni said, "Sit down." Seyi remained standing. "Sit down." He sat. Ni rubbed the bridge of his nose. "You live in the company house." Seyi's eyes as narrowed. "You drive a company vehicle." "Yes." "Your health insurance is through the company." "Yes." "Most of your professional network came through this business, even where your work kept the relationship." Seyi said nothing. Ni looked at him steadily. "You are 32. You believe you are independent, because I do not call you before you go out at night. But adulthood is not only being left alone, it is knowing which parts of your life you can still stand on if the support shifts." Seyi's face went still. "You are threatening me?" "No." "Sounds like it. I am telling you something I should have told you earlier." Convenient timing. Ni accepted that with a nod. Maybe. Seyi rose again. This time his father did not stop him. At the door, Ni said, "Your mother is wrong to pressure that girl." Seyi turned. "Then tell her." Ni looked down at the file on his desk. "I will speak to her." Seyi waited. "Today?" Ni's eyes came back up. "Seyi." He laughed softly. "Exactly." Then he left. That evening he drove to Ujunwa's shop and parked across the street without getting out. Through the glass, he watched her teach her apprentice how to finish a neckline. Ujunwa took the seam apart twice, patient each time. She pointed, demonstrated, made the girl do it again. Nothing about the scene looked impressive enough for Ronke. No clients in designer shoes, no marble floor, no receptionist. Just work. Seyi sat behind the steering wheel and realized, with an embarrassment that was almost physical, that Ujunwa owned more of her small life than he owned of his large one. The car he was sitting in belonged to his father's company. The phone in his hand was on a corporate plan. The apartment he planned to bring a wife into belonged to an Adiemi property vehicle. Even the title he was waiting to receive at work could be delayed by a conversation at his parents' breakfast table. He had spent years telling himself he was not a spoiled rich man because he worked hard. He did work hard, that part was true. It simply was not the whole truth. Ujunwa spotted his car. She stepped outside. "You are stalking me now." He opened the door and got out. "I was thinking. That face is expensive thinking." He leaned against the car. "My father spoke to me today about the project." "Yes, and I don't know yet." She waited. He looked back at the car. "Do you know this car is not mine?" Ujunwa blinked. "Yes." "You knew. You told me it was company car." "No, I know I told you. But did you understand how much of my life is still under the company?" She leaned against the bonnet beside him. "Probably more than you did." "That is irritating. I am sorry. You are not." He laughed. Then his face settled again. "I don't want you to think I am choosing comfort over you." "I don't. Really? I think you have not chosen yet." He looked at her. "That is worse. Maybe." Ujunwa folded her arms. "But it is honest." He nodded slowly. They stood there while traffic crawled past. Finally, Seyi said, "Come away this weekend." "Where?" "Anywhere that does not contain my mother." Ujunwa laughed. "Very romantic." "I am serious. I have 3 fittings Saturday, after, and church Sunday, after church, and laundry." "Ujunwa," she smiled. "Okay." He kissed her forehead. For a moment, they were only 2 people trying to hold on to something that had been good before everybody else began. Pricing it. On Friday morning, 40 kilometers away, Obira Nwosu sat at the head of a conference table and told 3 senior managers that a late shipment was not an emergency if the delay had been visible for 5 days. "An emergency is when the tanker breaks down on the road," he said. "This one is planning failure wearing emergency clothes." Nobody wrote that line down, but several people remembered it. Obiora had built Nwosu logistics and infrastructure slowly enough to know the difference between reputation and cash flow. The company had started with 2 second-hand haulage trucks and an office so small that clients could hear the receptionist arguing with suppliers through the partition. Over 30 years, it had moved into port logistics, warehousing, heavy equipment leasing, and infrastructure support. Obiora was not the richest man in Nigeria. He did not need to be. His name was known in the rooms where large private projects were financed, delayed, renegotiated, and finally built. He had enemies. He had friends who behaved like enemies during contracts, and he had a daughter who had not taken his call in 8 days. The meeting ended at 11:10. His executive assistant, a woman called Mrs. George who had worked with him long enough to ignore his moods, waited until everybody left. "There is something personal." Obiora looked up from a document. If it is about the Abuja dinner, cancel it. It is not. She placed a cream envelope on the table. Obiora's hand stopped. He knew the handwriting before he touched it. Ujunwa. He opened the envelope carefully. Inside was a simple printed card for a family engagement dinner. No embossed crest, no gold foil. The date was 3 weeks away. There was a smaller note tucked behind it. Obiora unfolded it. Come if you can come as my father. Not as the man who owns everything. He read it once, then again. Mrs. George looked toward the window. She had learned years ago that privacy sometimes meant pretending to find Lagos traffic interesting. Obiora placed the note flat on the table. When did this come? Yesterday afternoon. Who brought it? He nodded. Mrs. George waited. He did not dismiss her. Finally, she asked, "Should I put it in the calendar?" Obiora stared at the sentence again. Not as the man who owns everything. 4 years earlier, he would have called that disrespect. 4 years earlier, he had called many things disrespect, because the alternative was admitting fear. After Ujunwa's mother died, Obiora had made one decision without ever saying it aloud. He would never again be helpless about somebody he loved. Money gave him options, so he used money. Ujunwa wanted to rent a small flat after university. He bought her an apartment instead. She refused to move in. She wanted to train under a dressmaker and later open a tailoring business. He arranged a management position for her inside one of the company's subsidiaries. She refused that, too. He told himself she was young, ungrateful, influenced by people who did not understand what it meant to have opportunities. One evening, after an argument that started over a job and ended with 3 years of swallowed resentment, he told her, "As long as I am responsible for you, I will not watch you waste your life." Ujunwa had stared at him. Then she asked, "Responsible for me or in charge of me?" He remembered the exact sound of his own voice when he answered, "Do not speak to me like that in my house." She had gone quiet. That quiet should have frightened him. Instead, he had mistaken it for victory. The next morning, Ujunwa packed 2 suitcases. He found her in the hallway. "Where are you going?" "To Auntie Uzo." "For how long?" "I don't know." "Stop this nonsense." She kept walking. He followed her to the front door. "You think life is easy outside because you are angry?" "No." "You think sewing clothes will give you the kind of life I can give you?" "No." "Then what exactly are you proving?" Ujunwa turned with 1 suitcase in each hand. Her eyes were dry. That part had stayed with him. "If everything you give me comes with your hand around my neck, I don't want it." Then she left. Obiora had not chased her. Pride stopped him first. Then shame made the distance harder. For months he sent money anyway. She returned every transfer. He paid her old landlord directly once. She moved. That was the day he understood. She was not performing anger. She was building a boundary. It took him another 3 years to understand that boundaries were not invitations to negotiate harder. Now the note sat under his palm. Mrs. George asked, "Sir?" Obiora looked up. "Put it in the calendar." "Do you want security arrangements?" His first instinct was yes, full detail. Advance team, protocol call, driver route, everything organized. Then he looked down at the note again. "Normal movement only," he said. "No call to the family." Mrs. George nodded. "And no gift." That made her look at him. "No gift?" "No gift, not even, Mrs. George." She lifted one hand. "I heard you." When she left, Obiora reached for his phone. He opened Ujunwa's contact. Typed, "I received it." Deleted it. Typed. Thank you. Deleted that too. Finally, he locked the phone and placed it face down. Some apologies, he was beginning to learn, became cheaper every time a powerful man tried to control the timing. 2 days later, Seyi attended an infrastructure roundtable at a hotel on Victoria Island. He almost skipped it. A concrete supplier had failed to confirm delivery. His project team was behind on a revised schedule, and the last thing he wanted was 2 hours of men in suits saying synergy while drinking coffee. His boss insisted, so Seyi went. He sat through 2 panels. During the third, one of the speakers disagreed with almost everybody on stage and did it without raising his voice. The moderator introduced him as Mr. Obiora Nwosu, founder of Nwosu Logistics and Infrastructure. Seyi looked up. The surname hit first, then the face. Something in the cheekbones, something in the eyes. He told himself Nigeria was full of Nwosus. He listened anyway. Obiora spoke about project delays, procurement discipline, and the difference between influence and authority. Money can make people answer your call, he said at one point. It cannot make a bad process become good because you are impatient. The audience laughed politely. Seyi did not. He was thinking about Ujunwa. After the panel, he stood near the back while people gathered around the speakers. He saw Obiora shake hands with a bank executive, saw 2 security men keeping respectful distance rather than crowding him, saw senior people lean toward him when he spoke. Seyi left without introducing himself. In the car park, he called Ujunwa. She answered on the 4th ring. Hello, where are you? At the shop. Why? I need to ask you something. Ask. He opened his car door but did not get in. Who is Obiora Nwosu? Silence, not confusion. Silence. Seyi closed the door again. Ujunwa? My father. 2 words. Seyi stared at the hotel wall. Your father, yes. The Obiora Nwosu? She sighed. I don't know what that means, Seyi. You know exactly what it means. Then why are you asking? He lowered his voice. I just watched your father speak at an industry roundtable. Okay. Okay? What do you want me to say? That your father owns one of the largest private logistics groups in this city might have been useful information. Useful to who? Seyi stopped. The question landed harder than he expected. To me, why? Because I am marrying you. Yes. And this is your family. He is my father. That is family. It is not the same thing as having a relationship. Seyi looked around. People were moving past him toward the hotel entrance. Can we talk tonight? We are talking now, in person. Another pause. Come after 7. He arrived at her shop at 7:30. Ujunwa had already closed. They sat inside with only the small rechargeable lamp on because the power was out and she had decided not to start the generator again. The shop looked different in half-darkness. Smaller, more fragile. Seyi sat opposite her. How long were you planning to wait before telling me? I did tell you about my father. You told me you were not close. We are not. You left out the part where he is Obiora Nwosu. She rubbed one thumb over the edge of the table. I did. Why? You know why. I want to hear it. Ujunwa looked at him. Because the moment people hear his name, they stop seeing me properly. That is not fair to me. No. Seyi blinked. He had expected defense. Ujunwa continued. It was not completely fair to you. I know that. Then why do it? Because I wanted you to know me before you knew what my father could do for you. Seyi's face tightened. You thought I would use you? I did not know. After 3 years? Not after 3 years. Then why not tell me after 1? 2? She looked away. There it was. Not strategy anymore. Fear, not named, visible. Ujunwa picked at a loose corner of masking tape on the table. My father and I fought because he believed money gave him a vote in every part of my life. Work, house, friends, everything. When I left, I promised myself I would build something he could not claim he created. Seyi listened. I thought if I told you too early, then every time you helped me, I would wonder whether you were helping me or trying to connect to him. Every time you brought up business, I would wonder. Every time your family accepted me, I would wonder. And now? Ujunwa gave a tired smile. Now your family has made the answer very easy. Seyi looked down. That hurt because it was true. He asked, do they know? No, not even my father. No, why? I have never met your father professionally. Why would he know? Seyi leaned back. His first impulse was to laugh at the absurdity. His mother had spent weeks treating Ujunwa as if she might marry upward for access, while the woman's father could probably get meetings with half the people Ronke considered important. Then another thought came. It made him uncomfortable. If my mother knew? Ujunwa's eyes sharpened. Finish that sentence carefully. He stopped. She waited. Seyi rubbed both hands over his face. If she knew, she would behave differently. Exactly. That would make things easier. For who? He looked at her. Ujunwa's voice stayed quiet. If the only thing between your mother insulting me and respecting me is my father's name, what exactly have we fixed? Seyi had no answer. Outside, a horn blasted twice on the road. Somebody shouted back. Inside, the little rechargeable lamp flickered. Seyi finally said, I am sorry you felt you had to hide it. Ujunwa shook her head. No, don't make me a victim there. I chose not to tell you. You are allowed to be angry. I am. I know. He almost smiled. Very annoying. Also true. Then he became serious again. Are you going to tell my mother? No. Why not? Because I am not applying for dignity with supporting documents. Seyi stared at her. She held his gaze. That was the moment the story changed for him. Before that night, he had believed the conflict was between two stubborn women who needed time. After that night, he understood that one woman was defending a boundary, and the other was testing whether she was entitled to cross it. And he understood something worse. He had been standing between them, calling the distance peace. 3 days after Seyi learned who Obiora was, Ronke sent him a message. Family lunch. Sunday, 2 p.m. Please come alone. Seyi showed it to Ujunwa. She read the screen, handed the phone back, and returned to pinning a sleeve. You are not going to ask what she wants, he said. I know what she wants. You don't. She wants to discuss me in a room where I am not there. He opened his mouth, then closed it. Ujunwa glanced at him. Am I wrong? No, then go. You are okay with that. I am not your parole officer, Ujunwa. She smiled faintly. Go and hear her. Just don't come back and tell me she means well. Sunday lunch was quieter than Seyi expected. Only Ronke and Niyi were there. No aunties, no family friends, no audience. That worried him more. Ronke served soup herself, asked about work, and waited until everybody had eaten before opening a leather folder. She slid 2 stapled documents across the table. Seyi looked down. What is this? A draft of a marital financial agreement. Seyi did not touch it. Niyi did not look surprised. That told Seyi his father had seen it. Ronke spoke calmly. There is nothing unusual about protecting family assets before marriage. I did not say there was. Good. Then read it before reacting. Seyi picked up the pages. The first section dealt with assets owned before marriage. Fine. The second dealt with future family transfers. Less simple. There were provisions around disclosure of debts, large financial gifts to relatives, ownership interests and claims connected to assets, transferred through the Adeyemi family. Seyi read more slowly. By the fourth page, he put the document down. Did you have a lawyer draft this? Yes, for me, for the family. So not for me. Ronka's mouth tightened. You are part of the family. That is not the same thing. Ni shifted in his chair. Seyi, the principle is not unreasonable. I did not say the principle is unreasonable. He tapped the document. This was prepared without me. It decides what she gives up before anybody has even asked what she wants protected. Ronke stared at him. What exactly does she have that needs protecting from you? The room went still. Seyi slowly leaned back. Say that again. Ronke sighed. Please don't become dramatic. No. Say it again. I am saying your positions are not equal. Financially, yes. And therefore? And therefore, pretending both sides enter with the same risk is childish. Seyi looked at Niyi. His father's face had tightened. Niyi said, Ronk. What? It is true. Seyi felt something in him move. Not courage yet. Anger first. Sometimes courage entered wearing the wrong clothes. He pushed the document back. If we want an agreement, Ujunwa and I will each get independent advice. We will disclose what we have. We will negotiate it together. Ronka frowned. Independent advice costs money she does not have. I will pay. And then later she says your lawyer pressured her. Then she chooses her lawyer, and I pay the invoice without instructing the person. Ronke gave a sharp laugh. You are already thinking like somebody preparing for trouble. No, I am thinking like an adult. Niyi looked down at his plate. Seyi saw it. That avoidance. Again, he stood. Ronke's voice sharpened. Sit down. No, Seyi. No, Mum. You asked me to come alone. I came. I read it. My answer is no. You have not even shown it to her. I will. Then why are you refusing? Because if I put this in front of her, as it is, I would be telling her that before we become husband and wife, she must first prove she is not a thief waiting for access. Ronka stood too. That is emotional nonsense. Maybe. Your father and I built something. You think because you are in love, you can expose it to anybody? Seyi looked at Niyi. Ni finally spoke. The document needs revision. Ronke turned to him. That is not what you said yesterday. I said the assets need protection. I did not say I support presenting it like a command. Now you find your voice. The line hit all three of them. Ni's expression changed. Seyi almost laughed. Ronke had meant it as an attack on her husband. It was also an accusation against Seyi. He picked up one copy of the draft. I am taking this. Ronke folded her arms. Do whatever you want. I will. She looked at him with the quiet fury of a parent, discovering that adulthood was not a stage she could schedule. Then she said, just remember that decisions have consequences. Seyi met her eyes. I am beginning to. He left. Ujunwa read the agreement the next evening at her shop. She did not throw it down. She did not shout. She read every page, twice. Seyi sat across from her, watching the movement of her eyes. When she finished, she closed the document. Some of this is reasonable. Seyi blinked. That is your first sentence? Yes. I expected something else. That is because your family thinks I am afraid of paper. He almost smiled. Ujunwa tapped the first page. Separate property before marriage. Fine. Disclosure of major debt. Sensible. Written record for large transfers, also sensible. She moved her finger down. This part is not sensible. The future family property clause, that. And this. She pointed to another paragraph. It gives your family room to define certain support you provide to my relatives as misuse of family resources. It is badly worded. It is not badly worded. It is deliberately wide. Seyi leaned closer. You think so? Yes. Someone wrote it that way, because wide language gives leverage later. He looked at her. You sound like a lawyer. I have customers who bring contracts for uniforms. You learn to read what people want from you. She leaned back. Also, I am poor, not illiterate. Seyi winced. I did not mean. I know. She softened. I am not angry with you. Are you angry with the agreement? No, with my mother. Yes, fair. Ujunwa folded the pages neatly. If you want a proper financial agreement before marriage, I am open to it. Seyi stared. You are? Of course, after this? Especially after this. He frowned. She explained. Money does not become less dangerous because people are in love. Debt matters. Property matters. Expectations around helping family matter. If two people are serious, they should talk about those things before wedding pictures. Seyi nodded slowly. But I will not sign a document your family wrote for me as a test of whether I deserve you. He leaned back. There it is. There what is. The sentence my mother will hate. That is not my problem. He laughed despite himself. Ujunwa continued. I choose my own lawyer. You choose yours. Both sides disclose. We negotiate. Nobody sits at the head of the table like a principal calling a naughty student. That sounds fair. It is fair. He reached for her hand. What if she refuses? Ujunwa looked at him. The agreement is between you and me. Seyi held her gaze. Another simple sentence. Another thing he should have understood before somebody had to teach it to him. When he told Ronka, she did not speak for several seconds. Then she said, she wants her own lawyer. Yes. And you are agreeing. Yes. Who will pay? I will cover the fee if necessary, without choosing the lawyer. Ronka laughed softly. What a performance. What performance? This woman has no assets worth mentioning, but now she wants equal negotiations. Seyi's grip tightened around his phone. Mum, equality in a negotiation is not based on who has more money. That sounds very noble. It is also basic sense. You think she would be negotiating like this if she were not marrying an Adeyemi? Seyi looked through his office window at a crane turning slowly over a neighboring site. He thought about Obiora. He could end the whole argument with one sentence. You have no idea who her father is. He almost said it. The words reached his tongue. Then he heard Ujunwa's voice from that dark shop. If the only thing between your mother is insulting me and respecting me is my father's name, what exactly have we fixed? Seyi swallowed the sentence. She is negotiating like that because she has sense, he said. Ronke went quiet. Then the call ended. Ujunwa's relationship with her father moved by millimeters. A week after sending the invitation, she received one message. I got your card. No speech, no gift, no instruction. She stared at the message for a while, then typed, okay. She sent it before she could overthink. 2 minutes later, 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, thank you. Ujunwa put the phone down. Her apprentice looked up. Everything okay? Yes. You are staring at your phone like it insulted you. Ujunwa smiled. My own face has legal counsel too, Abby. The girl laughed. That Saturday, Ujunwa went to Uzo's place with groceries. and found her aunt packing trays of rice for an office order. Uzo did not ask about Obiora until the last lid had been sealed. Then she said, "He replied?" "Yes." "What did he say?" "He got the card. That is all. He said thank you." Uzo nodded. "What?" Ujunwa asked. "Nothing." "You are doing that thing." "What thing?" "Where you say nothing, like it is a whole sermon." Uzo washed her hands at the sink. Maybe the man is learning. One text? No restraint. Ujunwa looked away. Uzo dried her hands and sat opposite her. "You know why your father was difficult after your mother died? Because he likes control." "Yes, but why did it become worse?" Ujunwa shrugged. "He was afraid." Uzo nodded. "Your mother's sickness taught him that money could not force life to obey. That frightened him. After she died, he tried to control everything that remained." Ujunwa's face tightened. "Fear does not excuse it. I did not say excuse. People always explain powerful people until the people they hurt disappear inside the explanation." Uzo sat back. "That is true." Ujunwa had expected resistance. The agreement softened her. Uzo continued. "But understanding why somebody harmed you is not the same as agreeing to be harmed again." Ujunwa looked at her aunt. "Then what are you saying?" "I am saying you built a wall because you needed one." "Good. But walls can have gates. You hold the key." Ujunwa stared down at her hands. Uzo stood. "Now help me carry those trays before philosophy makes the customer cancel." Ujunwa laughed. They carried the food downstairs. 2 days later, Ronka called Uzo directly. That surprised everybody. Uzo answered, because she assumed it was a customer. "Good afternoon, Mrs. Nwosu?" "Yes." "This is Ronka Adeyemi, Seyi's mother." Uzo straightened. "Good afternoon. I hope I am not disturbing you." "No. I wanted to invite you personally to dinner next Saturday. Close family only. We need to discuss the engagement properly before we move forward." Uzo listened. Ronka continued. "Seyi says you are the relative Ujunwa is closest to." "I am one of them." "Wonderful. I think it is important we meet properly." Uzo heard the gap in the question. She did not fill it. Ronke asked, "Will you come?" "If Ujunwa wants me there." "Of course." Uzo smiled faintly. "Then ask Ujunwa." Another small silence. "I will." When Uzo told her niece, Ujunwa closed her eyes. "She called you Mrs. Nwosu?" "Yes." "You did not correct her." "What should I say? Chief Minister of Rice?" Ujunwa laughed so. Suddenly she nearly spilled her drink. Then Uzo's expression changed. She asked what I do. "What did you say? That I sell food?" Ujunwa stopped smiling. "And?" she said. "How nice." Both women stared at each other. Then Uzo shrugged. "Maybe it is nice." Ujunwa shook her head. "You are coming, I know. I am serious. So am I. I want to see the woman who says how nice, like somebody has died." Seyi arrived later and found them still laughing. For 10 minutes, everything felt light. Then he told Ujunwa the dinner would include Auntie Moji, his older cousin Dare and Dare's wife, plus one family friend who had known his parents for years. Ujunwa's smile faded. "I thought this was close family. It is, mostly. Why does your mother need witnesses?" "She says we should settle all the marriage arrangements properly." "Settle what?" "The financial agreement, guest list, family introduction, wedding contribution." Ujunwa stared at him. "Financial agreement in front of your aunt?" "I told her that part should be private." "And?" "She said nobody is discussing details, only principles." Ujunwa stood and walked to the window. Seyi followed her with his eyes. "Say it," she said. "Say what? What you are not saying." He exhaled. "She thinks you are resisting, Because you expect me to carry your family after marriage. Uzo, sitting at the dining table, stopped folding a plastic bag. Ujunwa did not turn around. Does she? Yes. And what do you think? I don't think that. She faced him. Then why are we going to this dinner? Because if we keep avoiding the conversation, it will get worse. It is already worse. I know. No, you know the facts. I am asking whether you understand what is happening. Seyi's jaw tightened. I am trying to fix it. How? By getting everybody in one room. Ujunwa laughed once. That is not fixing. That is gathering. Uzo looked down to hide a smile. Seyi saw it. Please, auntie, don't encourage her. I have not said anything. Your face is helping her. That broke the tension for a moment. Then Ujunwa's phone rang. Dad, the three of them saw the screen. This time Ujunwa answered. Hello. Obiora's voice came through low and careful. Ujunwa, yes. Is this a bad time? She looked at Seyi. No. I wanted to ask about Saturday. Her fingers tightened around the phone. What about it? Do you want me there? She almost said. I sent the invitation, didn't I? But that would have been the old dance. Pride answering fear, fear answering pride. Instead, she said, I don't know. Obiora was quiet. Ujunwa walked toward the hallway for privacy. But if you come, she continued, don't come to rescue me. Another silence, then all right. I mean it. I heard you. No calls before, no people speaking for me, no business threats, no arriving there like you are taking over a board meeting. She heard him breathe out. I said all right. Ujunwa leaned against the wall. The answer unsettled her more than an argument would have. Are you coming? She asked. Obiora did not answer immediately. Then he said, If I do, I will come as your father. The line from her note returned to her without decoration. Her throat tightened. She hated that. Okay, she said. Okay. Neither knew how to end the call. Finally, Obiora said, Good night, Ujunwa. Good night, Dad. The word slipped out before she inspected it. She ended the call and stayed in the hallway for several seconds. When she returned, Seyi looked at her carefully. That was him? Yes. Is he coming? I don't know, Uzo asked. Did you invite him? Yes. Seyi stood. You invited him to my parents' house without telling them who he is. Ujunwa's eyes narrowed. He is my father, I know. So why do I need to send a resume? That is not what I mean. What do you mean? Seyi rubbed the back of his neck. If he arrives, my mother will think you planned to embarrass her. Ujunwa stared at him, slowly, carefully. Listen to what you just said. He did. His face changed. She has spent weeks asking about my family, Ujunwa said. Now my father may attend a family dinner, and your first fear is that his existence will embarrass her. Seyi closed his eyes. I said it badly. No, you said it honestly. He looked at her. I am not defending what she has done. Then stop managing her embarrassment for her. Uzo stood. I think I should leave you two to talk. This is your house, Ujunwa said. Yes, that is why I know the bedroom is available. She disappeared down the hallway. C sat again. I am scared, he said. That changed the room. Ujunwa folded her arms but did not interrupt. I am scared this is going to explode, he continued. I am scared my mother will say something she cannot take back. I am scared my father will sit there and watch. I am scared your father will arrive and turn the whole thing into something else. And I am scared you are already halfway out of this marriage before we have even entered it. Ujunwa's face softened. He had finally stopped explaining everybody. He was telling the truth about himself. She sat opposite him. I am scared too. Of what? That I will marry you. And every time your family crosses a line, you will ask me to wait, because you are trying to keep peace. Seyi looked down. Peace matters. Yes, but peace that only one person pays for is not peace. He nodded. Neither spoke for a while. Then Ujunwa said, Saturday is the last time I will sit in a room and defend why I deserve basic respect. Seyi looked up sharply. What does that mean? It means exactly what I said. Are you threatening to leave? No. She reached for his hand. I am telling you my boundary before we reach it. Seyi looked at their joined hands. For once, he did not ask her to be patient. He simply said, I hear you. Saturday arrived hot and bright. By 5 in the evening, Ujunwa had changed clothes twice, not because she wanted to impress Ronke, because the first dress suddenly felt like armor, and she did not want to dress for war. She finally chose a burnt orange dress she had made herself. The fabric was not expensive. The cut was clean, short sleeves, fitted waist, mid-calf length. No stones, no dramatic embroidery. Uzo wore cream with a soft green head wrap. When Ujunwa came out of the bedroom, her aunt nodded once. Good. That is all? Yes. No poetry. Today I am conserving words. Ujunwa laughed. Her phone had no message from Obiora. She checked twice, then felt irritated with herself for checking. Seyi arrived at 6:15, wearing a deep teal senator shirt with dark trousers. He looked tired. You okay? Ujunwa asked. No, good. He blinked. She smiled. At least you are not pretending. He let out a breath. I spoke to my mother this afternoon. And I told her no money discussion in front of everybody. Ujunwa watched him. She agreed. She said yes. Uzo behind them made a small sound. Seyi turned. What, nothing? You don't believe her. Uzo picked up her handbag. I have met your mother once on phone. I am not qualified to diagnose. Seyi stared. Ujunwa burst out laughing. Even Seyi smiled. They left together. At the Adeyemi mansion, the dining room was already set. Ronk wore ruby red. The color was rich enough to fill the room before she did. She welcomed Uzo warmly, too warmly. My dear sister, finally. Uzo accepted the hug. Good evening. You look lovely, thank you. And this Jill. Beautiful, thank you. What did you say you do again? The question came before Uzo had fully sat down. Ujunwa felt Seyi go still beside her. Uzo smiled. I run a small food business. Ronke nodded. How nice. There it was. Uzo's smile did not move. Yes, people eat it too. Ni coughed into his hand. Seyi looked down at the floor. Ujunwa bit the inside of her cheek. Ronk blinked once, then laughed as if she had meant to be amused. Of course. Dinner began. Auntie Moji talked about a wedding she had attended in London. Dare discussed land prices. Dare's wife asked Ujunwa about her shop and seemed genuinely interested in tailoring. For 20 minutes, nothing happened. That was when Ujunwa became certain something would. Ronke was too pleasant. At one point, a server brought wine. Uzo declined and asked for water. Ronke said, You don't drink? No. Religious? Personal. Ah, that one syllable contained an entire committee. Ujunwa caught Seyi's eye. He gave her the smallest shake of his head. Please, not now. She looked away. After the main course, Ni cleared his throat. I think we should discuss the wedding calendar before dessert. Ronke placed her napkin down. Yes, and a few practical matters. Seyi's shoulders tightened. Mum, I said practical matters, not financial details. She smiled around the table. This is family. We should be able to speak openly. Ujunwa said nothing. Ronka continued. The guest list needs some discipline. We cannot invite everybody simply because they know somebody. Uzo's expression remained neutral. Auntie Moji nodded. These weddings can become village meeting if you are not careful. Dare laughed. Ujunwa did not. Ronka looked at her. Ujunwa, how many people are you expecting from your side? We have not finalized it. Your aunt mentioned church friends. I did. Uzo asked. Ronka hesitated. Perhaps Seyi mentioned it. Seyi frowned. I didn't. A small crack appeared. Ronka moved on. Well, whatever the number, we need balance. These venues charge per head. Ujunwa looked around the enormous dining room. We can reduce the wedding size overall. Ronka smiled. That is not necessary. If cost per head is the issue, it solves it. The issue is not affordability. Then what is it? Seyi said softly. Ujunwa turned to him. He stopped. Ronke answered. The issue is that some events carry a certain standard. Meaning we cannot turn it into an open invitation. I did not ask for one. No, but these things happen when families are large. Uzo folded her hands in her lap. Ujunwa saw the insult before Ronka finished wrapping it. She also saw Seyi see it. This time he spoke. Mum, enough. Ronka stared at him. What did I say? You know what you said. No, I don't. Nii shifted in his chair. Let's keep this simple. Ronka turned toward him. I am trying. Then she looked back at Ujunwa. There is another issue. Seyi's face changed. Mum. Ronka ignored him. The financial agreement. Seyi pushed his chair back slightly. We agreed this would be private. I am not discussing the clauses. You are discussing it. I am discussing principle. Ujunwa looked at Seyi. He was angry now. Actually angry. Good. Too late, perhaps. But real. Ronka reached beside her chair and brought up a leather folder. Ujunwa's stomach dropped. Not because she feared the paper, because she recognized the theater. Ronka placed the folder on the table. I have tried to handle this quietly, she said, but every reasonable effort is treated like an insult. Ujunwa's voice was calm. We already told you we are open to an agreement. On your terms. On mutual terms. There is no such thing as mutual risk when one person enters with far more. Anti-emoji looked down. Dare stopped touching his glass. Uzo's face became very still. Seyi said, Mum, stop. Ronke opened the folder. I am tired of pretending not to see what is obvious. Nii spoke sharply now. Ronke. She turned on him. You have been quiet for weeks. Be quiet for 2 more minutes. The words struck him cleanly. Ronka faced Ujunwa again. You run a small tailoring shop. Your closest relative sells food. There is no property. No established family enterprise. No financial structure. Yet every effort to protect what Seyi has worked for becomes a personal attack. Ujunwa's fingers were cold. She placed both palms flat on her lap so nobody would see. Seyi stood. That is enough. Ronka did not look at him. No, it is not. She removed a cream envelope from inside the folder. Ujunwa stared at it. Something inside her went very quiet. Seyi saw the envelope. What is that? Ronke slid it across the table. An alternative. The envelope stopped in front of Ujunwa. No one moved. Ujunwa looked at Ronke. What is inside? Enough to expand your shop properly. Pay rent. Buy equipment. Start again somewhere comfortable. Uzo whispered, Ronke. Ronke's gaze never left Ujunwa. In return for what? Ujunwa asked. Ronke leaned back. You know, Seyi's chair scraped hard against the floor. Mum, sit down. No. Ronke's voice remained calm. That is exactly the problem. Everybody wants to act offended instead of thinking. Ujunwa touched the envelope with one finger, not to take it, to feel whether it was really there. Say it, she said. Ronka frowned. I have said enough. No. If you want me to leave your son for money, use the sentence. Ujunwa, Niyi said quietly. She did not look at him. Ronka's jaw tightened. Take the money. Walk away from this engagement. Build your life without dragging Seyi into a mistake he is too emotional to see. There it was. No polite word left to hide behind. Ujunwa looked at Seyi. He was standing now. His face had gone pale with anger. Mum, you will apologize now. Ronka looked at him. And if I don't, you will. Or what? Seyi stopped. 1 second. 2. Ronka saw it. So did Ujunwa. Ronka's voice dropped. You want to walk out with her tonight? Fine. Are you ready to walk away from this family company too? Niyi stood. Ronk, enough. She turned. No. Let him answer. Seyi stared at his mother. His mouth opened. Nothing came. It was not cowardice in the simple sense. He was seeing, all at once, the company house, the company car, the project he had worked years to earn, the team he had built, the father whose approval still mattered, the life he had mistaken for. Fully his. The hesitation lasted only a few seconds. Ujunwa saw all of them. She lowered her eyes to the ring on her finger. Then she pulled it off. The small sound of metal touching polished wood cut through the room. Ujunwa placed the ring beside the envelope. Seyi looked at it as if it had fallen from a height. Uju. She looked at him. There were tears in her eyes now, but they had not fallen. She hated that they had come at all. Not because crying was weakness. Because Ronke would misunderstand them. I love you, Ujunwa said. Seyi's face broke. I love you too. I know. Then don't do this because of one terrible night. Ujunwa shook her head. This is not one night. He glanced at his mother, then back at her. I told her to stop. Yes, I stood up. Yes. Then what do you want from me? The question came out too loudly. Ujunwa flinched. Seyi heard himself and immediately lowered his voice. I'm sorry, I mean. Tell me what to do. Ujunwa looked at him for a long time. That is the problem, Seyi. What? You are still asking me to tell you. He stared at her. Ujunwa pushed her chair back and stood. You are 32 years old. Your mother just offered me money to disappear from your life. Then she asked if you were willing to lose comfort for standing beside me. And you froze. I was shocked. I know. It was 3 seconds. It was enough. Seyi's voice dropped. You are ending our engagement over 3 seconds? No. She touched the ring on the table with one finger. I am ending it over 3 years of me telling you there are moments when your family crosses a line. And you treating every line like it is a misunderstanding that needs more time. Ronke made a sound of disbelief. Listen to her. Now she is blaming you for my opinion. Ujunwa turned slowly. No, Mrs. Adeyemi, I am blaming him for his choices. The same way I am blaming you for yours. Ronke's face hardened. You are very bold in my house. Uzo stood up then. Ronk. It was the first time she had used her name without a title. Ronka turned. Uzo did not raise her voice. You invited us here to discuss marriage. You put money on the table to end that marriage. Let us not pretend the problem is this girl's tone. Auntie Moji looked away. Dare's wife pressed her lips together. Niyi's hand rested on the back of his chair. He looked older than he had at the start of dinner. Ujunwa picked up her handbag. Seyi, I will return whatever else belongs to you later. Uju, please? Not tonight. He stepped toward her. She stepped back. That stopped him. Her eyes softened. I am not punishing you. It feels like punishment. I know. Then don't go. Ujunwa swallowed. Her next sentence came quietly. I will not marry a man who needs permission to defend me. Seyi closed his eyes. For a moment, nobody moved. Then Ujunwa turned to Uzo. Auntie, let's go. Uzo picked up her bag. They were halfway toward the dining room door when the first wash of headlights moved across the windows. Nobody paid attention at first. The Adeyemi house received cars all the time. Then one of the household security men appeared at the doorway and looked directly at Niyi. Sir. Niyi frowned. What? There are 2 vehicles at the gate. They gave a name. Ronke snapped. Tell them that we are not receiving anybody. The guard hesitated. Niyi noticed. What name? Mr. Obiora Nwosu, sir. Niyi's hand left the chair. What? The guard repeated it. Obiora Nwosu. Niyi stood completely still. Dare looked up sharply. Even Auntie Moji knew the name. Ronke did not move for 1 second. Then she turned to Ujunwa. Not yet understanding. Ujunwa closed her eyes briefly. Of course he would choose now. Seyi looked at her. You said you didn't know if he was coming. I didn't. Niyi was already walking toward the front hall. Ronke followed, confusion tightening her face. The others moved behind them, not because anybody invited them to, but because human beings have never been good at ignoring a door when something important is happening on the other side. Ujunwa did not hurry. She and Uzo walked last. Outside, the compound lights reflected off 2 dark SUVs. The first vehicle had stopped near the entrance. 2 men in charcoal suits stood at a respectful distance. Another remained by the second vehicle. No one carried anything visible. No shouting. No performance. Then the rear door opened. Obiora Nwosu stepped out. He wore a cobalt blue senator outfit, simple in cut and impossible to miss against the dark cars. He looked toward the house. His eyes found Ujunwa first. Not Niyi, not Ronke, Ujunwa. Then he saw the ring in her hand. He stopped. For 1 second, all the power other people attached to his name disappeared from his face. He looked only like a father who had arrived at the wrong moment. Am I late? He asked. Ujunwa let out a breath that almost became a laugh. Yes, his expression tightened. She added, but maybe not for the reason you think. Niyi came down the steps. Mr. Nwosu. Obiora turned. Recognition passed between the 2 men. They had met before, not closely. Industry dinners, a project consortium discussion years earlier. Enough. Mr. Adeyemi, Obiora said. Niyi extended a hand. Obiora shook it. Ronke stood 1 step behind her husband. Her face had changed. The change was small. That made it brutal. The muscles around her mouth loosened. Her posture adjusted. The hard edge in her eyes disappeared, replaced almost instantly by social calculation. Mr. Nwosu, she said. What a surprise. Obiora looked at her. Then at Ujunwa. I was invited. Ronke followed his gaze. Something in her mind finally connected. Her eyes moved from Obiora to Ujunwa. Back again. No, she said softly. Not a denial. A realization. Obiora heard it. Ujunwa heard it too. Seyi came outside and stopped beside the door. He did not look surprised by who Obiora was. That told Ronke something else. Her head turned toward her son. You knew. Seyi said nothing. Ronke looked at Ujunwa again. Mr. Nwosu is your... My father, Ujunwa said. Courtyard became so quiet that the generator from the back of the property could be heard humming behind the walls. Auntie Moji's eyes widened. Dare looked at Seyi. Dare's wife looked down as if suddenly interested in the tiles. Ni's face had gone carefully blank. Ronke recovered first. Of course she did. Women who had spent decades managing rooms learned how to recover. "My goodness," she said, and smiled. "Ujunwa, why did you never tell us?" There was no accusation in the tone now. That was the worst part. Ujunwa looked at her. 5 minutes earlier, Ronke had described her family as having no structure, no property, nothing to bring. Now her voice had become warm, almost affectionate. Ujunwa felt something settle inside her. Not satisfaction, clarity. "Please don't respect me now, because you recognize my father." Ronke's smile vanished. Ni looked at his wife. Obiora's eyes sharpened. "What happened?" he asked. Ujunwa turned to him. "Dad." His jaw tightened at once. He had heard enough in her voice to know something was wrong. "What happened?" he repeated. Ronke stepped in quickly. "There has been a family misunderstanding." Ujunwa almost laughed. Obiora looked at Ronke. "About my daughter?" "About the engagement," Ni said. "Obiora, perhaps we should go inside and speak privately." Obiora's face remained calm, but Ujunwa knew that calm. It was the calm that came before phone calls, before lawyers. Before somebody received an instruction and 3 departments started moving. The old Obiora. He looked at Niyi. "If somebody has mistreated my daughter in this house, I would like to know before I sit anywhere." Ujunwa stepped between the sentence and whatever came next. "Dad." He looked at her. "No." One word, his brow furrowed. She walked closer. "I asked you not to rescue me. This is not rescue. It is about to become rescue." Obiora's nostrils flared. "Ujunwa, I arrived and found you standing outside with your engagement ring in your hand. You expect me to smile?" "No." "Then tell me what happened." "I will later." He looked toward Ronke. Ronke did not look away. Good for her, Ujunwa thought. At least that. Obiora lowered his voice. "Did they insult you?" Ujunwa felt everybody listening. She could say yes. She could tell him about the envelope. She could watch his face change and let his name do what Ronke's money had tried to do. Part of her wanted that. A very human part. The part that had sat at a table and been measured like cheap cloth. But if she let her father turn this moment into punishment, the lesson would disappear under the spectacle. Ronke would not learn that Ujunwa deserved respect. She would learn that Ujunwa was dangerous to disrespect. Those were not the same thing. Ujunwa looked at her father. "Yes," she said. "I was insulted." Obiora's jaw tightened, but I handled it. He looked at the ring. "I can see that. I need you to trust that I handled it." He was silent. She waited. The old battle returned between them in miniature. His instinct to act. Her refusal to be acted for. Only this time, both of them could see it happening. Obiora looked at his daughter for several long seconds. Then he asked, "What do you want?" Ujunwa's eyes stung. That question should not have been revolutionary. It was. "I want to go home," Obiora nodded. "All right." No speech, no threat. He turned toward the men near the vehicles and made a small gesture. One of them opened the rear door. Ronke took a step forward. "Mr. Nwaswasu, please. I think there has been a terrible misunderstanding." Obiora stopped. Ujunwa closed her eyes. Here it came. But Obiora looked at his daughter first. He did not answer Ronke until Ujunwa gave the smallest nod. Then he said, "Mrs. Adeyemi, if you believe there has been a misunderstanding, you should speak to Ujunwa, not to me." Ronke's lips parted. Obiora added nothing. That restraint hit harder than any threat could have. Ni stepped forward. "Ujunwa." She turned. He looked ashamed. Not dramatic shame, no trembling, no public tears. He simply could not hold her eyes for long. I should have stopped this earlier. Ujunwa nodded once. Yes, Niyi accepted it. No excuse. Seyi came down the steps. Uju, she looked at him. He glanced at Obiora, then at the ring in her hand. I am sorry, she swallowed. I know. Can I call you tomorrow? Not tomorrow. He nodded. When? I don't know. That hurt him. She saw it. She did not take it back. Uzo stepped beside her. Obiora looked at his sister-in-law. They had not spoken in more than a year. Uzo raised one eyebrow. Good evening. Obiora almost smiled. Good evening, Uzo. You came without a gift? Ujunwa stared at her aunt. Obiora's mouth twitched. I was instructed. Good. Maybe there is hope. Even Ujunwa laughed then. A small sound. Necessary. They left together. Ujunwa sat in the back of the SUV with Uzo on one side and Obiora on the other. For the first 5 minutes, nobody spoke. The security vehicle moved ahead of them into the Lagos night. Ujunwa watched streetlights pass across the window. At last, Obiora said, Where is home? She turned. My place. I know. I mean the address. Ujunwa blinked. He looked almost offended. I have not been stalking you. Uzo made a suspicious sound. Obiora looked across Ujunwa at her. I have not. You knew where her shop was. It is on the invitation. Oh, Uzo settled back. Carry on. Ujunwa laughed again. Then, unexpectedly, she started crying, not loudly. Her face simply folded. She covered her mouth with one hand and looked away. Uzo reached for her immediately. Obiora did not. His hands remained on his knees. That mattered. He waited. After a while, Ujunwa wiped her face. I hate crying in cars. Uzo said, very specific hatred. It is embarrassing. Obiora reached into his pocket and offered a clean handkerchief. Ujunwa looked at it, then took it. Thank you. He nodded. Another minute passed. Then Obiora said, Do you want to tell me? Ujunwa did. Not everything. Enough. She told him about the questions, the clothes, the shop, the document, the envelope. When she mentioned the money, Obiora's face changed. His right hand curled into a fist against his knee. Ujunwa saw it. Dad, I am sitting down. That is not the same as behaving. Uzo turned toward the window to hide her smile. Obiora looked at his daughter. They offered you money to leave him. Yes, and you are telling me to do nothing. I am telling you not to use business to punish them. That is different, is it? He opened his mouth. Stopped. Ujunwa continued. If you cancel something tomorrow, if you call somebody, if suddenly their company loses an opportunity because you are angry, what happens? They learn consequences. No, they learn that they insulted the wrong person. Obiora looked away. Ujunwa's voice softened. I need them to understand they should not have insulted anybody. The car went quiet. After a while, Obiora said, You sound like your mother when you are angry. Ujunwa looked at him. That is manipulation. His eyes widened. Uzo laughed out loud. Obiora actually smiled. Fine, he said. I deserved that. They reached Ujunwa's building just after 10. Obiora looked up at the modest block of flats. His face did something Ujunwa recognized immediately. Assessment, parking, security, lighting, drainage, access. She pointed a finger at him. No, I have not said anything. Your forehead said plenty. Uzo opened the car door. Runs in the family. Obiora stepped out too. Ujunwa frowned. You don't need to come up. I know. He stood on the pavement. She waited. He said, Good night. That was all. Ujunwa looked at him for a moment, then nodded. Good night, Dad. She and Uzo went inside. Obiora did not move until the stairwell light came on above them. Then he returned to the car. He made no calls that night. For him, that was work. For Ronke Ademi, the night lasted longer. After the guests left, the family sat in the same dining room where the envelope still lay unopened. Nobody had touched it. The engagement ring was gone. Ujunwa had taken it with her, not because she wanted to keep it, but because she did not want it lying beside Ronke's money, as if both were part of the same transaction. Seyi stood at the far end of the room. Ronke sat. Ni remained by the window. Finally, Ronke said, "You knew." Seyi looked at her. "Yes, for how long? A little over a week. And you said nothing." "No." "Why?" "Because it should not have mattered." Ronke stared at him. "That is childish." "No, what is childish is needing a powerful surname before you remember manners." Her face hardened. "Do not speak to me like that." Seyi laughed once. "There, that sentence again." Niyi turned from the window. "Seyi." "No, Dad, not tonight." He looked at his father. "You knew Mom was pressuring her. You told me yourself she was wrong." Niyi's face tightened. "Yes. And what did you do?" Niyi did not answer. Seyi nodded. "Exactly." Ronke stood. "Your father does not need to be interrogated in his own house." Seyi turned to her. "And Ujunwa needed to be interrogated in yours." Ronke flinched, small. "But he saw it." "I was protecting you." "From what?" "From making a life decision without understanding the risk." "Risk of what?" "You know what." "No." "Say it now. You were very clear when you thought her aunt selling food was the biggest fact in the room." Ronke looked away. Seyi's anger drained suddenly. What remained was worse. Tiredness. He sat down. "Mum, when you thought Ujunwa had nobody powerful behind her, you spoke to her one way. 5 minutes later, you recognized her father, and your whole face changed." Ronke swallowed. "That is not fair." "It is exactly what happened." "I was surprised. You became polite." "I was already polite." "You offered her money to leave me." Ronke's mouth closed. Niyi spoke from the window. "He is right." Ronke turned slowly. Niyi looked at her. "And I am worse than I want to admit." She stared. "What does that mean?" "It means I sat here and watched most of it, because I told myself you would eventually calm down. I did not ask you to agree with me. No, you did not need to. My silence did the job." Ronke's eyes flashed. "Oh, please." "Now everybody wants to become a philosopher, because Obiora Nwosu entered the gate." Niyi shook his head. "That is the point, Ronke. Nothing about what happened became more wrong when he entered the gate." That sentence finally reached her. She sat down again. Seyi looked at the unopened envelope. Then he said, "I am moving out." Ronke's head snapped up. "What? The company apartment?" "Seyi, don't be ridiculous." "I'm not." "You think suffering voluntarily proves love?" "No." "Then what is this performance?" "It is not about Ujunwa taking me back." That silenced her. Seyi leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "I don't know if she will. Right now, I don't think she should." Ronke's face softened for the first time. "Seyi." He shook his head. "I need to know what part of my life is actually mine. I should have done that before asking somebody else to build a life with me." Niyi watched him carefully. "The job?" Seyi looked at his father. "I will finish the current handover on my project. Then I am leaving the company." Niyi's jaw tightened. "Do not make a career decision tonight. I have been making no decision for too long." "You are angry?" "Yes, that is a bad time to resign." Seyi took a breath. His father was right. That irritated him. "Fine. I won't send a resignation tonight." Niyi nodded. But I will start applying elsewhere tomorrow. Ronka closed her eyes. Seyi, this is madness, he stood. No, Mum. Madness was thinking I could be independent, only where independence did not cost me anything. He left the dining room. 3 weeks later, Seyi moved into a one-bedroom flat in Yaba. It was smaller than Ujunwa's shop and home put together. The first night, the bathroom tap leaked. He called the landlord. The landlord did not answer. Seyi stood over the bucket he had placed beneath the leak and laughed until he had to sit down. Not because it was funny, because for the first time in years there was no facilities manager to call. He sent a photo to his friend from university. The friend replied, "Welcome to civilian life." Seyi found a plumber the next morning. He paid him himself. Small thing. Embarrassingly small. It mattered. He stayed at the Adeyemi company for another 7 weeks. Long enough to complete documentation and hand over his current responsibilities properly. He did not storm out. He did not accuse anybody in staff meetings. He did not use family conflict to damage people who had nothing to do with it. Then he accepted a role with a mid-sized engineering firm in Ikeja. The salary was lower. The title was less impressive. The company car did not exist. He bought a used Toyota with his savings. The air conditioning worked when it felt like it. He learned to keep a bottle of water in traffic. He did not send Ujunwa photographs of any of this. That restraint was his first real apology. He sent one message 2 days after the dinner. "I am sorry I stood there, not. I am sorry my mother upset you, not. I am sorry things got out of hand. I am sorry I stood there." Ujunwa read it at her cutting table. She did not reply that day. The next morning she wrote, "Thank you for saying it correctly." That was all. Ronka took longer. For nearly a month she sent nothing. Then one Tuesday afternoon she came to Ujunwa's shop alone. No driver waited at the door. No garment bags, no envelope. Ujunwa was pressing a blouse when the bell above the door sounded. She looked up. Ronke stood inside, wearing a simple, deep green dress. For once, there was no performance in her face. "Good afternoon," Ronke said. Ujunwa switched off the iron. "Good afternoon. May I sit?" Ujunwa looked at the plastic chair. "Yes." Ronke sat. The apprentice glanced between them. Ujunwa said, "Take your break." The girl disappeared faster than dignity required. Ronke almost smiled. Then she placed her handbag on her lap. "I came to apologize." Ujunwa said nothing. Ronke looked around the shop. The first time she had come there, she had seen everything the place lacked. Now she seemed to notice the order, the numbered hangers, the labeled fabric bins, the notebook where Ujunwa tracked deposits, the small board listing deadlines, the work. "I was wrong," Ronke said. Ujunwa waited. "I told myself I was protecting my son. Some of my concerns about money before marriage were reasonable." They were. Ronke looked surprised by the agreement. Ujunwa continued. "The way you used them was not." Ronke nodded. "No." Silence. Then she said, "When your father arrived, I was embarrassed." "I know, not because he arrived. Because I realized how I had spoken to you." Ujunwa's face did not change. Ronke swallowed. "And then I realized something worse. If your father had been a bus driver, I should still have been embarrassed." That was the first sentence Ujunwa had heard from Ronke that did not need decoration. She turned the iron upright. Ronke continued. "I cannot undo that dinner. No. I cannot ask you to trust me because I came here once. No, I am sorry." Ujunwa looked at her. Ronke's eyes were wet, but she did not perform tears either. Ujunwa said, An apology can open a door. It cannot walk through it for you. Ronke nodded slowly. I understand. Do you? Ronke almost smiled. I am learning not to answer too quickly. That surprised a laugh out of Ujunwa, small, but real. Ronke stood after a few more minutes. At the door she turned. Your aunt's food is very good. Ujunwa blinked. You ordered from her? For a women's association meeting. Did you tell her who you were? She knew the number. Ujunwa laughed. How did she behave? Ronke's mouth curved. She charged me full price. Good. She also told me delivery is not free because I live in Ikoyi. Better. Ronke left. Ujunwa did not forgive her that afternoon. Forgiveness was not a receipt handed over after payment, but the door existed. That was enough for one day. Obiora's repair with his daughter took a different shape. He asked permission more. At first, badly. Can I send somebody to look at the wiring in your shop? No. Can I at least? No. All right. A week later. Can I take you to lunch? Yes. He arrived alone except for the driver who waited outside. At lunch, Obiora made the mistake of suggesting a larger shop space he knew was available. Ujunwa put down her fork. He immediately raised one hand. I am not buying it. I did not say anything. Your forehead did. She laughed. He smiled. Later, he offered again, more carefully. What can I do that you will actually accept? Ujunwa thought about it. That question had become a small bridge between them. My books are a mess. Your accounting? Yes. I know somebody. I knew you would. He ignored that. Do you want an introduction or do you want me to pay? Introduction. Fine. No instructions to the person. Fine. No telling them to give me special treatment. Ujunwa, she stared. Obiora sighed. Fine. The accountant was a woman in her 40s who treated Ujunwa exactly like a small business client. She reviewed the books, pointed out that Ujunwa underpriced certain complicated alterations, helped her separate business and personal expenses properly, and showed her a cash flow forecast that made Ujunwa sit back in alarm. This is ugly, Ujunwa said. It is honest, the accountant replied. Ujunwa smiled. She had heard that kind of sentence before. Over the next 4 months, she raised prices on rush jobs, stopped accepting every customer who begged for impossible deadlines, created a proper deposit policy, and saved toward a second industrial machine. Her business improved slowly. No miracle, no check from her father, no surprise investor. Work, better decisions, boundaries. Seyi kept his distance until she invited him closer. The invitation came on a rainy Thursday evening. He had sent her a message about a mutual friend's wedding. Nothing romantic, nothing heavy. She stared at the message for 10 minutes, then typed, "Coffee Saturday." His reply came in less than 30 seconds. Yes. Then another message. Where? Ujunwa smiled. She chose a cafe halfway between them. When Seyi arrived, he was early. His shirt was plain. His old company watch was gone. He looked slightly leaner. Ujunwa noticed all of this and said none of it. They ordered coffee. For the first 15 minutes, they talked about other people. Then Seyi said, I left the company. I heard. From who? Auntie Yuzo. He nodded. I did not leave to impress you. I know. How? Because if you wanted to impress me, you would have told me earlier. He smiled. Fair. She stirred her coffee. Do you regret it? Leaving, yes, some mornings. That answer pleased her more than bravery would have. Good, she said. He laughed. You wanted me to suffer? No. I wanted you to be honest. He nodded. My new boss does not care who my father is. That sounds healthy. He also does not care that I was used to having a driver for some meetings. Very healthy. The office generator is louder than yours. Now you are suffering. They both laughed. Then the laughter faded. Seyi looked at her. I still love you. Ujunwa looked down at her cup. I know. I am not asking for the ring back. Good. I am not even asking you to decide anything. Good. He smiled faintly. You enjoy that word. Today, yes. He became serious. I just want you to know that I finally understand something. What? I thought standing between you and my family made me a bridge. Ujunwa waited. Sometimes I was just blocking the road. She looked at him then. That line was not polished. It was not romantic. It sounded like Seyi. She reached across the table and touched his hand. Not a promise, not yet. But she did not pull away. 6 months after the dinner at the Adeyemi house, Ujunwa moved her business into a larger shop, 2 streets away from the old one. Not huge, just better. More light. Better ventilation. Space for a fitting room. Room for 3 machines instead of 2. She paid the deposit from business savings. When Obiora heard, he said, "Congratulations. Nothing else." Then, after a pause, "Do you need help moving?" Ujunwa considered the question. "Yes." He sounded surprised. "With what?" "The signboard." On opening morning, Ujunwa stood outside the new shop in jeans and an old burnt orange t-shirt, looking up at the freshly painted sign, leaning against the wall. NWOSU Altiations and FIT. Same name. New space. Obiora arrived without ceremony. No cobalt outfit this time. No meeting clothes. Just dark trousers and a simple blue shirt with the sleeves rolled up. He looked at the sign. "You kept the name." "It is my name." He nodded. There were at least 3 things he could have said about legacy, family, or pride. He said none of them. Good man. Learning. A ladder stood beside the entrance. Obiora looked at it. "You called me to hold ladder?" "Yes." "You know I have staff?" "Yes." "You know I can hire people who do this professionally?" "Yes." He stared at her. Ujunwa smiled. "Do you want to help or not?" Obiora picked up the ladder. "I did not say I won't help." Uzo arrived carrying a flask and enough food for twice the number of people expected. She looked at Obiora holding the ladder. Progress. He gave her a warning look. "Uzo." I did not say anything. "Your face." Ujunwa laughed from the second rung. A used Toyota pulled up by the curb. Seyi got out carrying 3 cups of coffee in a cardboard tray. He looked up at Ujunwa. "Need another engineer?" "No." "Need coffee?" "Yes." He handed one to Uzo, one to Obiora, then held the last cup up toward Ujunwa. She climbed down to take it. Obiora watched Seyi for a moment. Their relationship was still cautious, civil. No man-to-man speech had repaired anything. That was fine. Some relationships needed ordinary days more than dramatic conversations. Seyi looked at the sign. "Looks good." Ujunwa nodded. "It does." He glanced at her left hand. No ring. She saw him look. He looked away. That mattered too. Ujunwa drank her coffee, then climbed the ladder again. Obiora held it steady with both hands. "Left side is higher," he said. "I know. Just a little dad." He closed his mouth. Uzo laughed. Seyi looked down into his cup to hide his smile. Ujunwa adjusted the sign herself. 1 screw, then the other. She climbed down, stepped back and checked it. Straight. Behind her, the new shop door stood open. No one pushed her through it. No one bought the right to stand beside her. The people who remained had learned, in different ways and at different costs, that loving somebody did not mean owning their choices. And perhaps that was the part worth carrying beyond Ujunwa's story. Respect should not begin when we discover who a person's father is, how much money sits behind their name, or what powerful door they can open for us. The measure comes earlier, in the ordinary moment when we think there is nothing to gain from treating them well. Power can provide comfort. It can offer protection, but sometimes the most difficult form of power is restraint. The ability to hear another person say, "This is my life," and finally loosen your grip.